Hello there guys, my name is Matthew Oliver and you are now watching my review on the new London dungeon at County Square. Basically in this video I'm going to be telling you about what I liked about the new one, what was good, what wasn't so good, how it compared to when it was at Tooley Street, what I preferred about Tooley Street, and maybe some useful tips for when's the best time to visit in terms of, like, you know, if you want shorter queue lines. Obviously queue lines to begin with. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Oh, and a little warning. This might contain some spoilers, so if you plan on going to the London Dungeon, you don't really want to know what it's like, then I advise you don't really watch this video. But for the rest of you, hope you enjoy. Anyway, so first of all, we're talking about what I enjoyed about it. I'm going to first say that I enjoyed the whole thing. It's a really good attraction, well worth visiting. If any of you haven't done it before, or if any of you have, or you know, or you think you've done it at Tooley Street, it's a fairly different experience to Tooley Street, and one that I certainly enjoyed. Well worth visiting, well worth the money. Get yourself down there if you can. Probably train is probably a better option than car. They have got parking spaces around there, but it's just very difficult to drive around London. Train's quite a good service to go by, or get your parents. Either way. Yeah, so what I'll tell you about what specific things I enjoyed. I'll start off by the first thing that you do when you're in the attraction itself. Is a new thing that improved on is that the way you get into the dungeon is through an elevator. Not an actual elevator. It gives the illusion you're going in like one of those old-fashioned elevators, where they had like the chains either side and people lower it down. And you feel like you're going into an actual dungeon. They lower it. Really immersive, really good. Sets the scene for what you're about to do. It gives us the same kind of illusion. Then you've done Nemesis Subterra, Alton Towers is that kind of illusion thing. Obviously a different type of elevator. That's more of a modernised elevator. Within the, like, you know, the whole facility research, trying to clamp down on the Nemesis creature. Whereas this one obviously is the old chains glow you down. Yeah, and then it goes fast, and then you get down there, and it's really good, better than before. Because I'm pretty sure if I remember before, you just go down some steps. Yeah, so that's an improvement. The bit after that, the boat ride, that's the same as before. It used to be called Traitor Boat Ride to Hell. Now it's called, I believe, Tooney Boat Ride. I'd say that's pretty much the same as before. But one bit I do like, which is an improvement, is the Henry VIII that they show. It gives a bit more of the story of it gives a certain precise theming of what era you're into the ride. It's obviously the Henry VIII era, and the whole, which I thought was good. I don't really know about this, but Brian Blessed, he posed as Henry VIII. And it's really cool how they did this. They did this a couple of times, and basically they have a mannequin with a bland face, and they got the whole depths of the eyes and the nose to have the shape. And I'm pretty sure I don't know if it's holograms or it's probably like projector, and they project Brian Blessed's face on Henry VIII, so you get the talking face through Brian Blessed's actual face. And that was really cool how they did that. That was really well, just an improvement on the attraction itself. I would say one thing that they need to improve on, this is the same as at Tooley Street, I found, is the theming to begin with. Perhaps a bit more theming, perhaps some torture equipment, perhaps you can see some models of people being tortured. Just a bit of that would make it that more better. But I like the fact the ending there is pitch black. That helps the scene of what's about to happen to you. You know, you're going to be gone. The whole music around you, the screams, the drum beats, it's really good. And then the drop at the end, obviously like a boat ride, you get a little drop. That's really good. You go backwards, same as before. Yeah, but it was good. And you don't get too wet. You get a little splash, but obviously you don't want anything like, you know, you're tied away from Fawkes Park, because you wouldn't really enjoy the rest of the experience. You'll be wet and you just want to change your clothes. So I'm glad you don't get too wet. It's obviously I'm guessing a different manufacturer. But yeah, really good. Right length, if it's too short a ride, not enjoyable for you because obviously it's too short. But if it's too long, then obviously the throughput would be a worry, and obviously get into the next shows and so on. But it was the right length, really good. Pretty much the same as before. But yeah, that was good. And the next bit, which is really good, which is new, is the Guy Fawkes Gunpowder plot. The whole experience is really immersive. basically, to begin with, you have this guy. It's not Guy Fawkes himself, it's just another guy. And he's got like this lamp with him, and then he tells you about what's going to happen. You know, you go into the House of Parliament, right, we've got plans to blow up Houses of Parliament. And then you follow this guy, and you've got low roofs, you have to duck down a bit. I didn't have to duck down because I'm quite short anyway, but if you're a bit taller, you have to duck down a bit. And it's really immersive. The whole thing around you, it's so good. And like, I don't know if you've ever been to like, horror mazes and that, or if you've been to London before, you know about they have the certain smells around, and it helps set, you know, the area you're in, and the scenario you're in. And also they got the right temperature. It felt cooler because obviously you go into the House of Parliament, lower down, a cooler temperature. Really good. The way they do that is, I'd like to know how they do all this, how they get all the smells. Yeah, really immersive. The acting of the guy doing it, he was top notch. I'd say one of the best actors I've seen in the dungeon. Obviously, the judges are the best actors because I like the way they can improvise. But yeah, they certainly was second best. He looked like he was enjoying his role. Really got into it. I would enjoy that. I love, you know, obviously an inspiring performer. I love to do something like that. Really good. I enjoyed that. I won't tell you what happens after that. A bit more of the Guy Fawkes, such a bit about it, but again, a different experience that I never felt before at a dungeon. Good new addition. I liked it. One of the better things about it. After that, obviously got the torture scene before. That's pretty much the same as before. Quite funny, but at the same time gruesome. Gets you a bit like, he talks about cutting tongues off and go, and you hold your tongues and you hold your balls with you guys. If any of you know about that, yeah. That was good. Same as before, really much, but you know, it was good. The plague, the scenario of the whole plague story was good. I like the fact you get to see like the Dr. Mars in the old, you know, the what they call the plague doctor. Yeah, and then you go into his room and you see him doing. I've only been before when it was at the old one. It's called Surgery Blood and Guts. It's pretty much the same as that. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I like that. You feel like you've got the leeches on your seats. You're getting sprayed by blood. It goes pitch black. Really good. Quite gory, but still enjoyable. And then after that, more of the plague. You go through like a tunnel, a spinning tunnel. You feel like you've got rats beneath you. You can hear rat noises. Really immersive. Again, the smells, the right temperature, like I've mentioned before, the Guy Fawkes. Just really good. Nothing was lackluster. In the whole experience, it was all brilliant. And, you know, I'm saying it's really good. It was, yeah, so good. The plague bit, really, quite immersive, really. You heard the sneezes. Sometimes you hear some sneezes, and then there's like you have water effect on you. One thing I would say is if it happens to some people, basically they like a spring system from must be like 20 feet up. They have like a little spring system. It lets out a little bit of water, and I got some right on me. I think I actually ran this t-shirt, and it was just a little bit of water there. But I felt it was good. I like the fact you have that. A little bit enjoyable, a little bit all surprising. I wasn't expecting that. It was good. But I could see where it's coming from. And it was like a bright orange thing, and it really stood out. And a bit. If they could make it the same colour as sort of the background, like the whole like sort of grey wall, what is like that kind of, you know, so you could set the era. It was a bright orange, so it really stood out. It was really like, it looked like massive. It didn't look right in you know, the whole, obviously the era you were in, 1665, the plague. But yeah, but everything else really good. And then after that, you got Sweeney Todd. If any of you have been out before at Tooley Street, or even if you've been to it at Kansas Square, you know what that's like. Same as before. When I was at Tooley Street, really good. Certainly one of the better parts I'd found. Really makes you feel like he's going to use you to fill a pie. Yeah, that was awesome. One thing in there that I would say is the bit to begin with before you sit down in your chairs to meet the barber. You have I think her name's called Miss Lovett or something like that. I think it's Miss Lovett. Yeah, and she does all the pies in the pie shop. and then a dead body comes flying down, and he's just say like, no, we don't want it yet, and you have to try and push it up, like as it comes down to the service area. That was good. I enjoyed that. I'm glad they had that. It kept the thing alive. You know, the whole story alive. But when it went back up, you could see it going back up really slowly, like it was on a mechanical system. So if they could just shut the door abruptly, quite quickly, so you see it come down, no, I don't want that, and then just push it back, and then, you know, so it didn't look like it was, because it looked quite real to begin with, and then you saw it slowly getting pushed up by a mechanic, and it didn't quite look right. But yeah, other than that, pretty good. And then after the Sweeney Todd, you've got Jack the Ripper, same as before, but more. I found it more immersive. Again, the acting was better. The scenario, the smells, the temperature, everything, like I mentioned before, so good. One thing I would say was better about the county square is the fact that they actually took out something, which quite might surprise you. But I don't know if any of you went to Tooley Street, but basically, to begin with, you saw, they talk about all the victims that he killed, and then you see like a silhouette of Jack the Ripper, and he's going up behind this woman, and you see him ripping someone up with his knives, but it looked kind of fake. It looked like she was made of paper or something, and it just didn't look right. Yeah, I mean, it was gory, in a way. It was a silhouette. You didn't see actual blood, but it was a silhouette of blood. But it didn't look very real, and also I think it actually helps you don't actually see Jack the Ripper, even a silhouette of Jack the Ripper. You just hear him, you don't actually see him, to begin with anyway. I'll tell you when you actually see him in a bit. And then after that you go to Mirror Maze, again the Jack the Ripper era. One thing I would say was better about the, I actually prefer the Mirror Maze at Tooley Street. One of the reasons is because you go past like these skeletons all caged up, and then they shake the cage bars. That was better at Tooley Street. They got rid of that, but that's only a minor thing. It's not that big a deal. You know, it didn't ruin my experience. And then one thing I would say was better, if any of you been it before, they've still got the whole pub scenario. You meet the Jack the Ripper in the pub. And it really sets the scene. I thought it was really awesome. I love the fact that they even had a poster of nothing to do with Jack the Ripper at all, but it was something to do with that the 1800s era, what it was like in those days. And it was like a little black and white advertisement poster of they wanted a 14-year-old boy to do a certain job, and he said you don't really employ 14-year-old children. Obviously, you're not really allowed to, which is fair enough, you know. But in those days, they obviously did, and it just helped the scenario. Nothing to do with Jack the Ripper. There's no mention of Jack the Ripper whatsoever on that little poster. It just helped the scenario that you're in a pub, and they put up posters in pubs. You've ever seen it? But it was a 14-year-old. I'm going into an occupation. You want a 14-year-old in an occupation? Just set the era. Obviously, a bit of back history about what the era was like. The designers obviously, got a good historical mind, or they're doing some research. Really good, and good imagination to get the right scenario. One thing I would say, which could improve on the Jack the Ripper part when you meet Jack the Ripper in the pub, is the ceiling. They get a bit more theming on the ceiling. I know, like, obviously you got to have the lights to get, so I'd imagine there's people in control booths up there, I think they're called. Managing all the lights and the sounds and make sure everything goes off at the right time, perhaps some walkie-talkies to call some the actors over at certain points, and obviously they need to see this, but I'm pretty sure they could add a few old-fashioned lights which would help it set a bit more. That's only a minor issue. Also, something I would like is, I don't know if they do this, but some backstage tours of the dungeon, so you can see how they pull all the effects off and everything, and how it all works, how it all comes together, and you can, because there's stuff going on above, there must be, to control the lights and everything, so I'd like to see how they all do that. That'd be fun. I don't know if they do that. I'm not aware of them doing that, but that would be awesome if they did do that. And then after that, as before, classic in a dungeon, absolutely brilliant, is the judge scene. Really awesome. It's a different... gives off a different feel than all the other attractions. All the other attractions in there, obviously, and the shows are and the rides are all scary and quite creepy and a bit gory. This one, it's just a bit of a laugh. It's quite funny, actually. Really good. I don't know if they employ comedians or just people who've got just a great improvisational mind. They're really good. They're top form, and they obviously know their stuff. I'm pretty sure they don't keep to a script because of some of the people they interview. I remember one of them, they were saying, "Oh, where'd you come from? Ireland." And then the guy said Ireland, and they said guilty straight away. It was quite funny. Got yeah, it was really good. If you've been to Dungeon before, you know what they are like. Yeah, and it helps set the scene, and also it's quite educational, that part. I find more educational than some of the other parts, I would say, because you get to know about certain ludicrous laws in those days, of things you could get arrested for. Like, for example, I know that you could get arrested if you if you beat a carpet outside in daylight. You could get arrested for that. And someone came into the pulpit, don't know, it's called a pulpit, the booth bit, the balcony, whatever, and they're saying that you're guilty of that. And it's a crime. You could actually go to prison for doing that. It's ludicrous, but it helps set the scenario. Really educational and fun at the same time, which is what Merlin Entertainments are good at. And a lot of their attractions. And then after that, tell you a bit about, execution, and then, for the finale, the drop ride. Beforehand it was called Extreme Strike to Doom. Now I think it's called Drop Dead, I believe. And it's only 30 feet tall. It's 33 feet tall. It's an ABC drop tower. The same manufacturer as the one who does. Have you been to Nemesis Subterra Alton Towers, which I mentioned before? So it's not tall, obviously 33, and it's not a very forceful drop. Obviously, it's not the same experience as if you're on something like Detonator at Thorpe Park, which is like 115 feet tall, or the much taller Apocalypse at Drayton Manor, or even taller ones over in you get Falcon's Fury at Busch Gardens, which looks awesome. It's like over 300 feet tall, and it's like tilts you 90 degrees and drops you. It's obviously intense and fast. This doesn't have that effect, but you don't really want to have that effect. The whole point of effect is it just sets the scenario, the theme that you're going to get hanged for your crimes that you've done, whatever they are, whether that's beating a carpet out in daylight, things like that. It just helps, helps set the scene. And one thing was an improvement, little spoiler here, if they don't just drop you the once. I remember at the old Tooley Street, I remember when I went there anyway, they only dropped you once. Because then it's 30 feet tall, not tall, so dropping you multiple times obviously adds to that, makes it fun and enjoyable, and quite intense. Really feel like I was going to get hanged. I didn't feel like I'm just on a ride. I felt like I was going to get hanged. And the seats were also, I like the restraint system, because it normally have like shoulder restraints, but they had just like a little lap bar, again like on Nemesis Subterra. A little lap bar, which doesn't even go down the whole way. I wasn't even locked in place, to be honest. But it's just 30 feet tall, so you're not going to come in your seat much. But it's just, really good. Anyway, now we're talking about what I preferred about the Tooley Street one. I preferred the County Square one altogether. I love I'd say the flow. There was much better flow in the stories, whereas beforehand when it was at Tooley Street, it sort of lacked a flow to it. Really good. The shows were good, but there wasn't a flow that sort of seeing it as a whole, if you know what I mean. Whereas now it's sort of linked together much more nicely. I can't really explain it, but if you go there, I think you'll see that the flowing works nicely. At least I hope you do. I certainly felt the flowing was better. But one thing that was better about Tooley Street was, to begin with, the way you get into London Dungeon. I don't know if you remember before, they had like a few just like models, like mannequins and that of, you just see people getting tortured in various ways, whether that be someone chained up, getting drowned in water, or I remember there was a cartwheel, a horse cartwheel with someone and the guy was leaning on it and a spear through him, a bit of blood, and it just sort of helped set the scene of what you're about to go into. They didn't have that anymore. People do say apparently it's more family friendly. I always thought it was family friendly to begin with. I mean, children like gore to a certain extent, and they had that to a certain extent. They never went overboard. That did become enjoyable, it just became stupid, like you're watching a Saw movie. But it was just, I thought they could have kept that in or done something. Whereas now you put your hand in boxes and you just see torture equipment. You don't actually see the whole, the torture equipment on someone, what it does. That was one thing I would say was better. They could bring that back in some way. They've still got surgery, blood and guts. So I don't know what I don't know what it's called now. You know, the plague doctor, whatever. They've still got surgery, blood and guts thing. So it's not like they're taking out the gore. They've still got the gore, and you still want the gore because you know you want to learn about gruesome stuff. That's what the whole point of some of it. You know, so they could obviously do something with that. Another thing I'd say was better was the photos at the start. I've got a photo here. Look, here's one of the old one when it was at Tooley Street. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there I am. There I am over there. I'm with my cousin there, who's on the other axe. And I'm with my granddad and my mum, who are about to get their head chopped off. I really like that photo. Whereas now, you put your head in something like that, and then it's like a green screen thing. And now it's a cool effect. I'll give it that. That it looks like your head at the end. It looks like your head is on, like you're dead on one of those, you know, get head chopped off and it's stuck on one of those big sticks that they stick in the ground. You know, but I just preferred that because you're holding an axe, and for a child you're thinking, yeah, cool, I can chop my parent's head off. Awesome. You know, no more bedtime. Awesome. Sweets whenever I like. That's what I was thinking anyway at the time. So I just preferred that photo. I actually preferred it that, you know, because there was no green screen there. I actually preferred it didn't have green screen because it actually helped set the scene, to be honest, with that. Yeah, so I preferred that. So I never actually purchased a photo. I still like the photo, so it's still worth getting. But, yeah, I just preferred that type before. Obviously, I never went on it, if any of you know about it, they had the Vengeance 5D ride for a year or two before, obviously. I don't know if it closed before the dungeon got moved, or if it closed previously and then the dungeon moved. They had the Vengeance 5D laser ride, which is basically a combination, I believe, of a 4D movie and obviously a laser ride like Tomb Blaster. And I believe the theming was like the ghosts and you have to shoot the spirits. I'm not too aware of it because I never actually went on it. I would have, because it wasn't, you know, last time I went was 2009, which was that time which I just showed you. Yeah, so if any of you know what happened to that, rumour told it was very unreliable and it broke down a lot. I heard some people say it was kind of rubbish, and maybe they just thought that, you know, it didn't get high ratings. But it looked like it was going to be good. If they could perhaps bring something like that back, perhaps if it was unreliable, get a different manufacturer to do something like that, or a similar attraction, maybe just a 4D movie, or maybe even just a laser ride. Doesn't have to have the 4D effects, just a laser ride. You know, which would be awesome. Give it maybe something like, or maybe just a dark ride, something like Amazing Spider-Man. Makes you feel like, you know, you're going really similar as, you know, Islands of Adventure. So, you know, Amazing Spider-Man Islands of Adventure. Something like that would be good. Yeah, and I would say that what they could do to improve the new one would be like before. It's just a bit more theming, perhaps on the roofs. A bit lacklustre in some places, but it didn't really let off too much. Yeah, well worth visiting still. Just a little tweaks here and there that they could do. Obviously, just more shows, more rides, like I mentioned, the 5D laser ride. Yeah, and bring back the old photos, I would say. That's something I missed. I like the hold it in the act. I thought that was awesome. They keep investing in new shows. I can't see it, you know, sustaining longer, because obviously, you know, same people keep going and, you know, get bored because you've seen it before. Just like anything, like theme parks, really, keep investing in new rides. That kind of thing. Yeah, so they just keep investing. Long live the dungeons. Anyway, now I'm going to be talking about some of the merchandise you can buy. Obviously, the photos you can buy with the new ones, which I obviously said weren't as good, where you get to see like your head stuck on a stick. Obviously, you can purchase your face on the drop ride. Another thing you can buy, which I actually bought, is some mugs. They have a London Dungeon mug, but the one I bought, I think this side's back to front. Basically, there's Sweeney Todd barbershop, and this side you got the chair that you sit on. Everyone knows who's been on that one know what that's like. And this is kind of cool. The handle, you see there, both sides. It's like one of the old-fashioned blades that obviously the Sweeney Todd would have used, like the razor blades to shave your face. or cut your head off. The old barber shop poles that they have in actually have got barber shops these days. An interesting fact, what I was told that you see those there that they actually have these days in your barber shops, that actually came from the Sweeney Todd myth. That obviously he wrapped your blood and guts around the pole, and that gives off that. So if you're ever getting your hair cut, or you're having a shave, and you obviously you see them, and brings back memories of the old Sweeney Todd myth, which is nice. And then inside there, I don't know if you can see that, it says the London Dungeon. This cost me £8.50. My dad bought one. I went with my dad basically. I don't know if I mentioned that. And he bought a mug, which was just London Dungeon mug, for £9. We got a deal, buy one get one half price. So it came to £13 something. You do the maths, I can't remember. But yeah, that was really good. I really like that. Quite a big mug. I drink a lot out of it. Yeah. So I believe that's it. I really enjoyed my day. Well worth visiting. I'd like to visit again. Anyway, now I'm going to be talking about my useful tip, and that is, well, I went, I think we got in the dungeon at 10:15, I believe, or I mean 10:30, which is obviously an early start. I believe it opens at 10, not much earlier than that anyway. So obviously we beat all the queues. That's obviously one of the better times to visit. Also, another better time to visit, if you're going by time, is sort of midday when everyone's having their lunch, or perhaps towards the end of the day. But at the end of the day, the actors might be a bit lacklustre. I don't know. I've never been at the end of the day. I don't know what that's like, but I'd imagine it'd be a long day. They might, obviously have different actors at different times, but they might feel a bit lacklustre towards the end of the day. You might just get a bit tired. But obviously, to begin with, we had them at 10, so obviously they're getting into it and they're really enjoying it. So that's quite a good time to visit. Also, less queues. We went on a Monday anyway. It wasn't a bank holiday Monday. It was just a general Monday, and I wasn't at college that day, so I just went to dungeon with my dad. It was a good day. Went by the bus, no, not bus, went by the train. It's well worth it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Perhaps you can even leave comments on future videos you'd like to see on this channel. Because the whole idea of this channel I'm doing is that I like to get you involved as much as I possibly can. It won't live without you, basically. If you just leave comments of, types of videos you'd like to see. Feel free to just leave a comment. Why not check out my Twitter page or my Facebook page? And like that, or follow me on Twitter. Just get involved as much as you can. Anyway, see you later, guys.